Okay. So in a previous session at the end, we discussed how to create a user management visa. So today we'll see different things, different basic configurations. Then we'll jump deeper into the course. So basically, coming to the Salesforce, we'll be having two types of apps. One is sales or like a basic app, another standard app, and second one is a console-based app. So coming to the console-based apps, the companies will use mostly console-based app for service. Whereas coming to the standard apps, the most of the companies use for sales. So let's suppose if I go to app launcher, I'll go to service console. Let assume. So initially try to understand what is the difference between both the things so that while creating an app, you'll understand which type of app you are creating. So if you consider this console based app, you can see, so app name here, if you consider standard app also same thing will be there. And you can see here drop down arrow you can see. So all the tabs will be present in this drop down arrow. So whatever the tab you want to navigate, you can navigate from this tab. So let's suppose if you navigate to home page, you can navigate like this. Or if you want to navigate to cases, you can navigate from here. And so whatever the tab you consider, for each and every tab, let's suppose if this tab corresponding to any database table, or a database table means object. So if it is corresponding to any object, for that object, you'll be having list views. You can see it is a pinned list view. Pin means by default, whenever you open this object, this list view will open. So if you want to unpin this, you can click on this unpin option. Okay. So by default, one list view should be pinned. That's why it is not vanishing. Okay. So if you click on this drop down at the bottom, you can see all the available list views for this object. So now I am clicking on all open cases. You can see all the open cases present in the system. So now if I open some record, see, you can see this record is opening in a new tab. You can see this record is opening in a new tab. Similarly, if I open any other record, so this is said as split view. Split view means we can see the entire details of this case in a single page. This is the feature which is available in service console or console based applications. Okay, and you can observe one more thing. So I opened two records. So first record also available in a page, and second record also available in a same page. Whereas, let's suppose if I open a sales application or standard application in another page, so it is a standard sales application. You can see coming to the sales application, you can see tabs side by side. Home tab, opportunities tab, leads, care task, so on. We can see the tabs side by side. Let's suppose I want to open leads tab. So, however, we are having list views there. Here also we'll be having list views. Okay, so you might get confused. It might be this list view is updated more. So you can see if you come to opportunity records, you can see recently viewed opportunities pinned here. Similarly, if you click over here, it will show different list views available in this opportunity. Let's suppose I'll go to all opportunities. So I want to pin all opportunities as my favorite. Means if I make it pinned means by default, whenever I open opportunities tab from the next time, by default, it will open or it will land me into this all opportunities page. Okay. Now, I am opening this record. So you can see it is opening in a page, complete page. Let's suppose now my requirement is I need to navigate to different record. Let's suppose at the time, again, we need to go to opportunities and again, we need to open another opportunities. So if you are opening another opportunity, in this page itself, it is taking us into different record page. That previous record page is or previous record is not available in a standard application. Okay. Whereas coming to the service application, how many records you open, that many records will be available in a same page. And the list view will be come up this side, and whatever the records you are opening, those records will be open in new tabs. So whenever you want, like most of the companies, console applications used to provide a service to the clients. Service means support. So for the support work, most of the companies use console applications. Okay. And if you consider standard application or service application, as a user level, if you want to customize, means customizing means if you want to change any tabs kind of thing, you can click on this gear icon. So with these gear icons, what you can do is you can change these tab positions. Let's suppose if you consider in this app, I can see home as at the first place, right? And in the second place, I want to see opportunities. Let's suppose I want to see cases on a top. Up beside opportunities, I want to see cases. So you can see like that beside leads, I want to see the cases. Like that, we can change the view. See, now case is available here. So remember, whatever the customization you are doing, without going to setup, all the customization will be available to you only. You means your username only, you can see that customization. Whereas coming to the entire organization, no one will see the same changes. Whereas if you want to replicate the changes to all the users, you need to configure that from setup. Okay. Similarly, for the console application also, you can customize any list view or any tab from here. So you can see edit option in this. If you click on edit and you can add any tab or you can, if you want to add more tabs, you can click on add more tabs and you can add. Whereas if you want to alter these tabs only, you can alter. So suppose I want to keep home on the top. Save. Like this, we can change views, means a basic view. Okay. Is this clear? Got the basic difference between standard app and console app?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
Yes. So coming to the next concept, I'll walk through this sandboxes concept bit theoretically. So, do you familiar with the sandboxes?
Yes.
Huh. So I'll explain you types of sandboxes. Prithvi, are you familiar with this?
No, Yakub. Actually, I work
Okay.
getting difficulty in
Uh-huh.
recalling.
Okay, okay. No worries, no
Yeah.
worries.
Can you explain
So,
it a bit? Yeah, yeah.
haha, it's
Okay.
a very important concept coming to real time. I'll go a bit high end. Okay. So sandboxes. So coming to the any company, if you want to work upon any project, companies will have two things. One is a sandbox, and second one is a production. So coming to the production is a place which will contain a real-time data, or simply we can say the application which is used by the clients. That is a production. Okay, so coming to the Salesforce, they'll be having different kinds of editions. So coming to the production, they'll be having different kinds of editions. So editions means the licenses which are purchased by the clients. It means, so let's suppose, yeah, I'll speak this editions bit more. So coming to the Salesforce edition, if you Google it, you'll be get different types of available editions present with the Salesforce. The basic editions are professional edition, enterprise edition, unlimited edition. Oh, so these are the, and whatever the edition we are using, Salesforce edition, that is a developer edition. Developer edition is a free for everyone. So as it is a cloud CRM application, the companies will use as much as they pay. So based on pay, they'll get additional features and additional storage details. Okay. So based on their requirement, they will purchase the licenses. So the basic, very basic one is a professional edition. Okay, the next enterprise, the next unlimited. Like that, they'll be having different editions for the production. So, coming to the production, here, while implementing any functionality, any developer or any company won't implement any functionality directly into the production. Why means in a real time, the companies will use the application, right? So, if you change any functionalities, any data in a production, it will create a huge impact on real time. So with that note, what every company does is they'll create a sandboxes. Companies will create sandboxes. The sandbox is nothing but it's a replica of production which are used to develop and test some functionality before going into real time. Okay, so coming to the Salesforce, there will be having different kinds of sandboxes. Based on additions, in the Salesforce, different sandboxes are available. So the basic sandboxes are developer edition. The basic sandboxes are developer. So I'll write it here, developer sandbox. The next will be having developer pro sandbox. The next will be having partial copy sandbox. Partial. Remember, it is a partial copy and it's a full copy sandbox. So I won't be able to see these things in a real time. Why means we are using developer account. You can Google it and you'll research on this so that you'll get more content. But I'll give you complete knowledge on this, like what is each and everything and how these are differentiated. That information I'll give. So coming to the sandboxes, we'll be having these many types of sandboxes and we'll be having a purpose for each and everything. So if you go for professional edition, like a professional edition itself having 1 GB of storage, so that from the professional edition, you can create a sandbox with the developer features only. Whereas if you go to high-end editions like enterprise or unlimited editions, we'll be having like we can create developer pro, partial copy, and full copy sandboxes as well. So coming to the sandboxes, the difference is the first feature is refresh interval. First feature is refresh interval. So means a refresh interval means how many times, how frequently we can sync the production with the sandbox. Syncing means production will have real-time data, right? It will have real-time data. Whereas coming to the sandboxes, here we'll implement some features and if that feature met the requirement, we'll deploy into the production. So synchronization means refresh interval means this production and sandbox should have same configuration so that we can test any functionality very efficiently in a sandboxes. So for that, we'll be having feature called refresh interval. We'll be having refresh interval. So coming to this developer edition, the refresh interval will be 1 day. So we can refresh every day. Means we can sync the data between both the orgs every day. Data means not a records and everything. It's a metadata, you can say. Means a configuration kind of thing completely. So coming to this developer also, the refresh interval will be 1 day only. Whereas coming to this partial copy sandbox, refresh interval will be 5 days. So if you refresh it today, if you synchronize it both the sandbox and production today, you should wait for 5 days to refresh or synchronize again. Whereas coming to this full copy sandbox, so to refresh the sandboxes, we need to wait for 29 days. Okay. So now this is about the first difference, that is a refresh interval. The second major difference is what are the features available? What are the features available in this edition or in this sandbox? So coming to the sandboxes, so based on the features available in the environment, there will be different sandboxes. So coming to the developer edition, we won't create a huge amount of data like production. Why means it is having very low storage. So prior to the features, I'll take help of this star. Prior to the features, if you see the capacity, you'll understand much betterly. Capacity. Capacity means storage available for each and every type of sandbox. So coming to this developer edition, it's a very basic edition. Here will be get a storage like just 200 MB. So however, for our pre-developer account also, we'll be having complete storage like 200 MB only. Whereas coming to this developer pro edition, we'll be having 1 GB of storage access. And coming to this partial copy sandbox, will be having capacity of maximum 5 GB. And coming to this full copy sandbox, same as production. So we'll purchase a license, right? So with, let's suppose if you purchased unlimited edition, so how much storage available in a production, same capacity will be replicate in this full copy sandbox. Okay, so it is about the storage wise. So coming to the storage wise, in a developer edition, we can will be get maximum storage like 200 MB. And coming to the developer pro, we'll be having 1 GB of storage. Coming to the partial copy, we can store up to 5 GB. Will be get a maximum 5 GB storage. And coming to the full copy sandbox, it is same as production. So how much storage is available in production, that much storage will be available in this full copy sandbox. Don't worry, we'll see this storage information in our developer edition today. Okay. So then next we'll see the features. We can see like then with the storage, what are the features available in each and every environment, and mostly where we use these features. You need to understand that stuff. Okay. So now first thing is coming to the developer edition, it is having very less storage, isn't it? So it is having very less storage. By considering the storage, we won't create huge amount of data in this environment. We won't be able to create much amount of records in this. Okay. So the majorly this dev edition will be used for some developing some functionality or testing the same functionality, developed functionality will use this environment. And coming to the storage details, so we won't store huge amount of records here. Why means the storage is very less. If you store records, the storage might not be sufficient. By considering that note, mostly we'll use this developer edition for configurations. Configurations and customizations only will use this one. Configurations and Apex metadata. And we can add more and more users in this. Like users means, so in a real time, what we'll do, the companies will give some requirement, the developers will develop that functionality, and testers or QR developers itself, initially they'll test the functionality, right? So while testing the functionality initially, they'll use this developer edition. For that, we need to create a different users. So coming to this developer environment, basically this is used for configurations and for Apex metadata. And here we can create all the users. We can create all the users. The purpose of creating users is to test the functionality in a different scenarios. So coming to the developer pro, it is having bit more storage compared to this developer edition. Here, the functionality or purpose is as is. So here also we can developers will develop the functionality and they can test its functionality, and it will also here also we can configure something, means we can configure Salesforce database to see the changes, like how changes are working or behaving. The next here also we can keep all the users. The advantage over this developer sandbox for this developer pro sandbox is here the storage is just 200 MB, right? It means if you want to test some functionality, you can test on a very less amount of records. Whereas if you go to developer pro sandbox, if you have some functionality, if you developed some functionality, if you want to test that functionality for bit huge amount of data also, you can test it. Whereas coming to this sorry, coming to this partial copy sandbox, the features available here is along with the same features, along with the same features, here we'll be having access to sandbox templates. We'll be having access to sandbox templates. It's a bit important questions for high-end or experienced interviews. What is sandbox template? So while creating sandbox, we can see what happens is, let's suppose whenever we create a sandbox, we'll create a sandboxes from productions in real time. Okay, we'll create sandboxes from production. While creating a sandbox, initially, what happens is it will fetch all the metadata and configurations from this production. All those metadata and configurational changes will replicate in a sandbox. Sometimes, whenever you create a sandbox, you need some objects data as well. Let's suppose I am creating a sandbox from production. I need to get all the accounts and related contacts of the account and related opportunities of the account. I need to sync all the production data into the sandboxes. So that feature won't be available in a developer and developer pro sandboxes. So that feature is available in a only partial copy and full copy sandboxes. So while creating sandbox, you'll be get an option like sandbox template. So from the sandbox template, what you can do is you can choose which object records you want to move or you want to copy from production to sandbox. So by taking help of sandbox templates, you can fetch the some object records from a production to sandbox while creating a sandbox. That feature is available in a partial copy and full copy sandbox only. So as it is having more and more storage, it is having around 5 GB of storage, means it is a huge storage only coming to the Salesforce terms. So we are having this much huge amount of storage, right? So with this, yeah, we can take a data from real time, means a production while creating the sandbox. And if you have any requirement or any functionality developed, you can test that functionality in a very high end. So most of the companies will use this for UAT testing. UAT means you are very familiar with this, you are curious, right? You might understand this much clearly. So for the user acceptance testings, most of the peoples will use this partial copy sandbox. And another advantage for this partial copy sandbox is, yeah, so we can implement any real-time integrations and we can test real-time integration scenarios as well. And to train, like to perform, like in a real time, what happens? So if new employee joins in the company, we'll provide a KTs, right? So KTs also we can provide in this partial copy environment. Why means here we'll be having huge amount of data which is very similar to real-time production, so that the KTs will be given on this partial copy sandbox. Most of the companies will give KTs also on this platform. So coming to the next, full copy sandbox. So coming to the full copy sandbox, it is having storage as available in a real-time production environment, and the all the objects available here, like all the objects data available here. And if you want to synchronize, means how many records present in a production, that many records also you can store in this full copy sandbox. So the most of the companies use this full copy sandbox as a staging environment. Staging environment means like whenever they implement some functionality or something, so they'll maintain this environment as similar to the production. So in a very high end, if they want to test any functionality, they will in a very high end, they'll test in a full copy sandbox. If it is working here means it will work as is in a production. Why means this full copy sandbox, they'll design in such a way that it should be very similar to this production environment. This is about different types of sandbox. Any doubts on this? It's a very, very important concept. So
Yeah, Jacob.
clear,
Yeah,
right?
we are good. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, thank you. So the next then how we can deploy the changes, like whatever the changes we do here, right? In a development, will implement some functionality, and after testing this functionality in a real time, let's suppose every company won't maintain these environments. Though they maintain the environments, the names they won't keep as is. So in a real time, they'll keep environment names like, let's suppose they will keep a name like dev for development, and they'll maintain another environment with the name QA. And after this, they'll maintain another name like UAT. Let assume like I'm taking different companies will have different naming conventions, and they might have at least two environments or three environments, depends on company size. The next year team tarvata, like then next they'll be having staging. So let's suppose these are the different environments. After these we might have production product. So our entire aim is, our final aim is, so whenever you implement some functionality, that at the end, that functionality should go to production. So at the end, the functionality should go to production. So for that, we need to move the functionalities, whatever the functionalities we developed from one environment to another environment. So you can see like first we'll implement basic functionality in dev environment, let assume. So from there to we need to move to QA. From QA to we need to move to UI. Once it is tested or approved in QA, we need to move it to user acceptance testing. So once the user acceptance testing is done, everything working as expected, then we need to move that functionality to staging. The next we need to move the data to production. How we can push the data between these different environments. So for that, we'll be having lot of available options. So coming to the Salesforce standard functionality, to move the data between these different environment, they'll be having feature called change sets. They'll be having feature called change sets. So change sets is an available feature in all the editions. The purpose of change sets is which will use these changes to move the data from one arg to another arg. So coming to the change sets, so if you go to developer edition, there will be having like if you go to setup, you can search change sets. There you can see two options. First one is the inbound change sets. First one is inbound change set, and second one is the outbound change set. So the purpose of this, let's suppose now what I want to do, I need to move the changes are meta like Apex code from developer to QA. So for that, what we need to do is while going to the change sets, we need to choose outbound change sets. We need to choose outbound change sets. In the outbound change set, we need to add whatever the components you want to move. Once you add all the components here, you need to check the dependencies. Means we need to validate it. So whether we have any dependencies to move that or anything we need to add additionally, we can check it here in outbound change set itself. Once it is validated, once it is and like let's suppose we are moving some flow. We Sorry, can you able to hear me?
Yeah, now we can hear you, Jacob.
Actually, yeah, my Wi-Fi got disconnected unexpectedly.
Okay.
Sorry for that. So what we are discussing, what I am explaining, I'm explaining something. Yeah, chain sets, right? Yeah. So whenever you
Yeah.
want to move the data from one environment to another environment, let's suppose dev to QA, we need to push the data. So to push the data, we need to like a standard feature is a feature available in a Salesforce is like chain sets. Chain set is a standard feature which is available in a Salesforce. So in a chain set, we'll be having two options. One is outbound chain set. One is outbound chain set, and the first one is the inbound chain set. First one is inbound. So coming to the outbound chain set, if you want to move from one environment to higher environment, we'll use outbound chain set. Let's suppose from dev to QA, QA to EAT, or dev to EAT. Directly at the time, we'll take help of outbound chain sets. In the outbound chain set, you can add all the components. Let's suppose you are creating some flow. On the flow, you might use some new field. So let's suppose in the outbound chain set, you added flow and you validated it. So it will give you a dependency. So if you want to move this thing successfully, you need to add this field also. That like that, it will give suggestions. So based on that, you can add the fields into this outbound chain set. Once validated, it won't if it won't throw any errors, we need to send this outbound configurations, outbound chain set. We need to push it to the high-end environments. After selecting the target environment, we need to push it. Once you push it in a target environment, let's suppose if it is if you consider it as a QA, we are pushing dev to QA. In a QA, again we need to open chain sets. There we need to go to inbound chain sets. In an inbound chain set, whatever we pushed, we can see that. And here also you will get an option like validate. Once you validate, if it is validated successfully, you'll get a deploy button. Once you click on the deploy button, whatever the functionality you implemented here, that will come up as is into the QA. Like that, the Salesforce is having a standard feature chain sets. Clear this feature? Clear with this?
One doubt, Cook. So here you are saying some validations, right? So it will auto validate, or do we need to do any checks before
So
deploying?
yeah, whenever you click on validate button, by default, it will validate. It will change the dependencies.
Okay.
And if we missed some field, let's suppose we implemented some functionality. On that functionality might involve reports and dashboards and some automation, some Apex code, let's assume. So
Hmm.
for that requirement, you might created some database table, some object and some fields. So let's suppose to push that change, let's suppose you added report and you added Apex code, but let's suppose you forget to add the database table and that fields. At the time, what happens is, if you validate that, it will say dependencies. So you missed this dependency. So if you push this thing, it won't be successfully deployed there. Like that, it will give a warning or error. So based on that, you
Okay.
can add all the dependencies. So
Okay.
we'll see if there is any available models are there in a Trailhead. If there is any available Trailhead models, yeah, you can ask me, Adhikar.
Yeah, suppose yeah, two people are working on same object.
Ah,
So how it's going to affect in it's I mean in the QA environment. I mean one developer is working on same object like an account object. So
uh-huh.
he was changing some fields,
Mm-hmm.
and another developer also working on the same object. He's doing something, doing some validations part.
Uh-huh.
So how would it be happen? I mean, can update in the QA sandbox. I mean
Mm-hmm.
that yeah,
Yeah.
change it.
Okay, coming to the chain set, let's suppose I'll explain one way. Then, if it is not your question, you can ask me again. So
Mm,
you are asking is, let's suppose you are creating chain set, I am creating another chain set to
mm,
move the same functionality from dev to QA.
yeah.
At that time, what happens is nothing will happen. You can create your own chain set. I can create my own chain set. We'll both validate our chain sets, right? And we'll deploy
Mm,
the chain sets. Though parallelly, if we both deploy the chain set from dev to QA, nothing will impact there. So in a QA, you can check whoever accepting that. Like if you go to inbound chain sets in a QA, we'll see both the things. The two developers deployed the functionality, both the chain sets
mm,
available in the QA. And whatever the change set you want to deploy in the both, you can select. Once it is deployed means, again, if you deploy also, that will be overwritten. Nothing will happen in the functionality wise.
But kind of what I mean to say this, the both are the requirements is, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it's need to be fulfilled. I mean, developer one also working on the same object, but requirements also need to be fulfilled. And even developer two also working on the same object,
Mm-hmm.
he has the another requirement.
Yeah, they can work parallelly. See, Salesforce is a multi-tenant environment, right? So
Okay.
parallelly, multiple people work upon same object, and like multiple people will change the fields in a same object. But
Mm,
if the both the users are trying to change the same field at the
mm,
time they'll be get a concurrency error. Okay.
okay.
So parallelly, we can use up to 5 members parallelly can access the same object and same resource at a time. They can work on a functionality. Mostly 10 users they can do, I think. So we
Okay.
won't get any errors while working on a same object on a different functionalities. It won't impact.
No, my question is how it going to be updated on the QA sandbox. I mean, I changed one developer changed one field, right?
Huh. So
Both, yeah,
yeah,
both updates. How it's going to affect in the QA sandbox?
okay, okay. Like they developed in a you are saying about they developed something in a dev or directly QA. You're saying about.
Dev,
Ha.
dev.
So every time, whatever the change, they need to move through change sets and they need to accept the changes by taking help of inbound change sets in QA. Then only all
Mm,
the changes will replicate here. Otherwise, the changes won't replicate here.
okay,
Ha. So without accepting, see, without deploying or without accepting the changes into the QA, those changes won't replicate.
okay,
Clear
okay.
or still
Mm,
not clear?
uh, yeah, still little
Ha.
bit confusing because
Ha.
uh,
Tell me.
developer one sandbox is different. I mean, different sandbox, right?
Ha. It's a
And
different
even
time.
developer two sandbox is different,
Ha.
right?
Ha.
So developer one, I already updated that one.
Okay. Tell me some
How
feature.
how can
Let's up.
how
Let's
how
up.
can I mean suppose
Let's
developer
suppose you are
one adding
saying
some,
developer one is
yeah,
working on feature one, developer two
future
is
one,
working on feature two,
future
and
two,
both are working
the
on
same object,
same
same object.
object, same object.
So developer one is
Okay.
updated. Okay, made a
Uh,
change set and he updated to QA.
so
But
I'll
on
justify
developer,
your question initially. So
mm,
single object means if you are working on the same object, previously that object is available in both the environment.